podcast you are about to watch is the result of what happens when three lifelong friends get together and have an idyllic conversation about a horror film and the characters in it that they love. On the evening of April 18th, 2024, they embarked on a journey to record this conversation. Had they not, you could have saved an hour and a half of your lives. But instead, on that fateful evening, Matt Naylor, Mike, and Steve, also known as Monster Kid Media, recorded what would later be known in the annals of American history as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre podcast. All right, hey guys, Monster Kid Media, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What do you guys think?
1974. Not to be
1974.
confused with the remake.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The remake is Steve's favorite film.
Well, right. I mean, we're gonna talk about 1974 against Steve's wishes, but we're gonna chuck through it.
All right, so I rewatched this film twice with two different commentaries to get ready for this. I don't have 6 pages of notes, but I've got some questions.
What? You have to remember, I have to take notes.
Yeah,
I'll forget if I don't.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I like your notes.
I love them. I think they do great.
So, Stevie, this is your favorite film? One of your favorite films?
Yes.
Does it beat out Halloween?
It's very close. Very close.
All right. Mikey, what is your opinion after rewatching the film?
So it's interesting as I watch all these movies again, and I'm watching them analytically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not just watching them to kind of enjoy them or show them to somebody else. You know what I mean? I'm seeing these movies in a completely different way, and especially listening to the commentary. It made me really watch this movie in a completely different light. I don't know how much you want me to get into stuff.
Well, let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
You said you took notes.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know, the main thing I found out about this movie that just never dawned on me was how little really just gore or like language gore, all the things that today are so prevalent in horror movies. And I think what stood out to me the most in this movie is that really the thing that makes it such a great movie is that it's from beginning to end. It's probably one of the most unsettling movies ever made. Very innocuous scenes make you feel like you're there.
Yeah,
which is crazy, right? You feel the helplessness of the characters that you don't get in a lot of movies. A lot of movies you can kind of separate yourself from it, whereas the way this movie's shot, the way it's done, you feel a part of it. And that's, like whether they do the close-ups, whether they, it's, the lack of a real soundtrack. It's just sounds. It's like noises.
Mm-hmm. Dark, ominous tones.
Deep, ominous tones. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit, but I literally feel myself my eyes start to itch, and I start to kind of feel like I have to sneeze when she goes into the living room for the first time with all those chicken feathers everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I feel that room.
It's very effective. That room is effective.
It's super effective. And there's nothing to it, really. I mean, it's So if you're asking me what I took away from the movie this time, it was the fact that, and it was really when they talked about how they were going to try to make it a PG movie. That
Yeah,
blew my mind.
yeah.
And I was
Uh,
like, trying to make this a PG movie. So then I kept watching it and I was like, man, I was like, by today's standards, I mean, it's still not going to be a PG movie, but it was just the way everything was just made it great
it's definitely a
without having to have all the added
submersive
stuff.
type of film. It
Yeah.
it definitely puts you in that, and I don't want to jump ahead. Um,
I'm jumping ahead, sorry.
no, no, it's okay. I want to back up. It took me, I mean, I watched this movie when I was a little kid. I was probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old when saw it for the first time, and it scared the shit out of me. But I didn't like understand the depth. Like a chainsaw, big guy with a chainsaw was just scary to me. But it wasn't until years later that I realized that John Larroquette does the intro, and
Mhm.
then I learned that like it was one of his first things that he did, and I think they paid him with weed.
I was just gonna say he got paid weed. I wonder if they kept that up with the like part two and whatever the other ones he did. That's all he
Uh,
did was just give me weed.
the like you were saying that the tones like in the beginning shots with the flashes, the camera bulbs, and
Mhm.
that super iconic noise when the
Mhm.
bulbs flash. I don't know.
Do
It's
we know if that was the first time that was like used
like in any
or
film.
no? Yeah.
I don't know
No.
any other films that it was used in. So I would assume so, yeah.
Mhm.
Um I have questions. Let's start at the beginning. So the group of kids they're going, right? They're going to Franklin's and Marilyn Burns um grandfather's house,
Right.
right? Sally Hardesty, not Marilyn Burns. So it's Sally Hardesty and Franklin Hardesty, correct?
Yeah, I believe so. I didn't hear any different last name.
But when they go to ask for directions, they say, "Oh, we're looking for the old Franklin place." And it really annoys me because I don't understand what's going on. So I was when I was watching the film, there's actually like a scene selection that says the old Franklin place, Grandpa Franklin's place or something. So
So maybe his name was Franklin, the grandfather.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe they just like they said they grew up there, so it doesn't necessarily mean they were with their mom and dad. Maybe it was like a distant relative with different last name.
but it just happens to be Franklin's first name.
I think that was just yeah.
Like if I'm looking for your house, Steve, I'm not going to be like, "Oh, I'm looking for the old Steve place."
Well,
Well, you might. That's not true. You'd be like, I'm going to find Stevie's house.
Yeah, I would say
Right.
I'm looking for Franklin's old house, not the old Franklin house.
I I think it's a last name. I really think that it
Yeah.
possibly could have been a last name. Like his their grandparents could be, that side of the family could have been Franklin.
it
You
bothers me.
know. They didn't do a lot of research like for names for this movie. Because you didn't even know the names of the bad guys in this one, the last names.
No, you didn't.
You didn't find that out to part two. And they
Right.
didn't have anything, so they're like Sawyers with as Saul yours, and they spelled it just like that. So I don't think the names are like a huge thing for it. That's
Um, Something else I picked up and I don't know if I'm just naive and never picked this up before, but they go to the gas station and they get barbecue. And Sally's cutting it up on the dashboard and she hands it back to Franklin and said, Here's some barbecue." And he's eating this piece of sausage, and it never clicked in my head that the whole part where he's chewing on that piece of sausage
This is
that's
yeah.
that's
They,
human. Like
pieces out.
Franklin is eating human. And I never
Human
thought
human
about
nether region, probably.
Yeah. Like, did you guys think about that before?
Not when
No.
I was real young, no.
Mm-mm.
But the older I got, yeah, I was thinking that because
Yeah, I thought that it could definitely be that for sure.
When you were young and watching it?
No, not when I was young. No, no, no. When I got older, because you knew the whole story.
Yeah. Well, then when the sequel comes out, it kind of explains a lot more how he's winning the chili cook-offs or whatever it is.
yeah, yeah.
Spoiler
Um,
alert.
when well, you got into the movie, you started it up, but do you want to go into Toby Hooper and how he got this cast to be in the movie first off?
Yeah, well, I'm ready for some Steve
Yeah,
knowledge bits.
deep
So
knowledge.
I'm trying not to interrupt or anything, I'm just like I
Why?
don't know which way you guys want to go with this, but
no, go. It's
Anyway,
your show.
this is your jam.
so Toby Hooper started directing like I think I heard he was like 16 years old when he first started, like did his first short film. But he had shot this film, an independent film that was played at colleges, and I guess it was very popular, like the college students and such. It was called Eggshells, and he got a bunch of notoriety from this film because it was very like artsy fartsy, however you say it, type film, and everyone was into it that went to theater school and such. And that's where most of the cast for Texas Chainsaw came from. Like I know um, Sally, she was in the college. She knew of Toby Hooper before she got off, went to trap for a role because of that movie. Um, a handful of them did. I think Gunner also was another one. I heard about that first, but he got this cast basically from the local college theater. That's how he got them in because, like you guys were saying, shooting and stuff. This movie had like no budget at all. It
You
was
know what the budget was?
oh crap! This is where I should have wrote it down. Do you have it, Mike?
No,
Oh,
Steve,
jeez, yeah.
sorry.
you got to get a notebook.
I want to say
I
it
know.
grand total was like it cost like 50,000 or something like that for it. I know it was like close to that, but I don't know the exact number. So, because I mean, I don't think anyone really knows because the way they did this movie, it was just throw money here, throw money there, try to get what we can for free. Because again, they had nothing to do this movie, and I think that the budget that they have is just like an estimate. You know, but I believe like that documentary that came out on that newer Blu-ray version. It came out with the truck, the Black Maria. I believe in the special features, the documentary, they said it was like 50,000. It cost them to make this movie.
That's not much.
Oh, no, no.
Not a lot.
But
Um, character development. Um, the two guys, I didn't care. I mean, the driver, was it Jerry? Was Jerry the driver?
yeah,
I thought he was funny. Um, and the other guy, like they didn't really do very much character development until they got to Franklin. Franklin fucking killed his role.
yeah.
Yeah,
They all
Like,
wanted to kill him too on the set, I heard.
yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know that until I watched the commentary, but um, he was so annoying to everyone, I guess. But he stayed in character. It, I mean,
That's
Uh,
if if he's not really that much of a whiny bitch or wasn't, then he's a really good actor. Or
yeah, that's amazing.
he's passed away now, but um, and then uh, Marilyn, I guess, didn't know that he was normal until years after.
Right. Yeah, she hated him.
Mm-hmm. And in the one scene where he's honking the horn, and he's just like, just push me, and they get into this like back and forth slapping match, whatever. I guess that was like real.
there was a lot of on-set violence in this movie. That was
Yeah.
great. You know,
You
for
talk
no
about the end scene too?
the
Are you
ends.
jumping ahead?
Yeah, I
Part
am jumping ahead.
you were just saying with Franklin, the beginning in the truck with the cook and Sally,
Hmm.
and the hitchhiker and the cook. That scene. So when we get to it, I'll say, I'll talk about it. Throw it in there. But yeah, there was a lot of like
Well, let's get to it.
Toby was like that though. Like he had a different way of filming movies, and you could definitely see it on a screen. I mean,
Mm.
Poltergeist, that movie phenomenal. And it's all through his vision. I had a lot of respect for Toby with the stuff that he did. He
Funhouse.
Funhouse, yes. Like his stuff is just it has a different feel to it. Like you almost know it's a Toby Hooper movie. But yeah, I this movie just I think he learned a lot from it, took a lot away from it, but also um I think it definitely it definitely scarred a lot of the actors and people that were in it, you
Oh, for
know.
sure. For sure.
First off,
Yeah.
first off you have we were going the van that they rode in, they
Mhm.
had I guess that was the sound guy's van.
Yeah.
And so he like rented it out to Toby Hooper to use for those scenes and such. But at that time frame, they said like the temperature was like 110 degrees or something like that because this was filmed like near Austin, Texas. So having all those people in that vehicle plus the Toby with the camera, the boom, everything in there, it had to have like doubled,
Oh,
well,
that'd be
maybe doubled,
terrible.
but it went up there. So not only with them being mad at Franklin and how annoying he was, they're annoyed by the heat, angry at the heat, but they can't
Yeah.
get out of character.
I heard that towards the end of shooting, nobody wanted to be near Gunner because he smelled so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it was just so hot. And he was one of like he was wearing that mask and it would just kept the heat in and he couldn't really
Yeah.
cool down. So I guess he was pretty
And
relieved
he didn't.
of it.
Yeah, and they didn't let him. They don't want to take it to the dry cleaners or anything because it was the only.
The
It
only
was the only suit they had.
yeah.
So they made him wear it every day.
Continuity,
Oh,
man. Can't mess that up.
oh
So I have a
And
question
man.
for you
us
guys.
that notice that. Like I totally catch stuff like that. So I respect that they did it like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, if something's off on a shirt, I notice right away.
Yeah.
Um, something that I always thought, and I watched the commentary and they kind of debunked it, but it looked like the hitchhiker was writing something on the side of the van. Like it looks like a symbol to me.
You're right.
Yeah, it does kind of, yeah.
And I guess the idea was initially maybe it's some sort of a symbol, but they kind of went away from it because they thought that would be too much bullshit to get into.
Mm.
So they said it really wasn't a symbol, it was just a smear. But it looks like some kind of a weird symbol.
Yeah, in a way he's
Yeah.
writing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people said that like he was marking the van,
Mm-hmm.
to let when they, he knew that where they were going. So to
Well, I
mark the
assume that
van.
it's definitely a mark, but like I didn't know if the mark had meaning.
Yeah.
That's one of the funniest scenes ever. When I was a kid, I would roll at that scene when he takes that picture of them. It's a good picture.
You
You
can
It's a
can
pay
good.
take
me.
it out. But that scene when he gets the foil out, gunpowder, and lights it, and that look on his face is I just lost it. I thought that was just awesome. I loved it. It's so funny. Edwin Neal is fantastic.
He is great.
Yeah.
He's
He
great.
really
I've
was.
never seen him in anything else.
He was in a toe tag movie. Well, toe tag worked on it,
What
but
movie?
Murder Set Pieces.
Oh, I have seen that. I didn't
At the
realize.
very end, he plays kind of the hitchhiker role.
Oh,
When
really?
the girl gets away, he's like, he's got that crooked face type. There's bad
Yeah.
people here. You shouldn't be hitchhiking this late at night.
Actually, I have something.
So here, I got this from Ed Neal.
Nice.
He actually
That's
sent
cool.
me two on accident. And then he messaged me back and he said, I didn't mean to do that. Can you send the other one to this other guy? So I was like, yeah. And I just picked the one I liked better because the other one didn't look as good. But
That's really cool.
yeah,
That's cool.
it's probably backwards on the video, but
Matt's got a knife. It's a good knife.
it's a good knife.
That's awesome. That's so great. What does it take? What does it take for someone to do that to themselves?
So anyway, if you he loves selling autographs. So if you want one of these, you just hit him up like on Instagram or something and he'll sell it to you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's probably somebody else's signature. He's probably got somebody doing his dirty work.
Sign
Yeah.
for his wife's or whatever's in the back signing it.
Yeah.
You
Sign
buy
it
this
with one of those knives and send it off, woman.
knife.
He was more known for doing voices though, and like cartoons.
Oh, he was a voice actor?
Yeah, if you look on his like IMDb, there's so many cartoons that he did voices for.
Who is your favorite character?
Ooh. On either side, good or bad.
Yep.
I like the Hitchhiker.
Over the cook?
Yeah.
All right. From a horror standpoint, the Hitchhiker is definitely scarier than the cook. But
Oh.
there's something really unsettling about the cook that like 1 second he can appear friendly and he's normal or he's empathetic, and then in the next he's fucking insane.
Schizophrenic.
At least with the Hitchhiker, you know what you're getting. But the cook, it's like, oh, this guy, he just doesn't take any pleasure in killing. But he'll eat him.
He's a real psychopath.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's your favorite, Mike?
Grandpa.
Yeah.
Right on. Right on.
No, honestly, probably the cook, man. Just because of everything that Matt said. It's just awesome how he changes, and he can change within one scene of like the camera on him.
Mm-hmm.
And like you can like you can see that he's trying to fight with himself about what he's doing, but then he likes it so much he can't stop doing it.
Yeah. The one of my favorite scenes with him, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but it's in the same vein as what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
About how he's enjoying it when he's whapping Sally in the face with the broomstick.
With the broomstick, yeah.
Yeah, and he's driving.
Yeah, that's why I was going like this, because he keeps hitting her with the.
You be quiet down there.
Now, calm down. You're okay.
Everything's fine.
And then he laughs about it.
Yep. I guess he had a really good time with that scene.
Yeah, I could tell. It looks like it.
Well, I mean, like real life. Like he really beat the crap out of her. They did like 7 or 8 takes for that scene, and it was because he would hold back. He'd keep hitting her until he's like, "That doesn't look real enough." Keep hitting him. Finally, Sally was just losing it because she's getting all bruised up. So she's like, "Just lay into me." So that's when he just goes hardcore, and they took the last shot. He finally just like he said, he felt like he went a little mad, like he was living in the scene, and beat her with that broom handle.
Darren and I have an inside joke about whapping Sally in the face with the broom handle. So when he watches this, he's gonna start laughing.
Poor girl, man. what that commentary said that they put that girl through,
Yeah.
I can't believe she didn't go into an insane asylum, to be honest.
But it did perfect for the end of the film, though.
Yeah.
Well, they actually, I didn't realize they at the end. We're jumping all over the place, but
We are.
when they were trying to cut her finger to let Grandpa taste the blood, they took the tape off the knife and Gunner actually cut her finger. I didn't
Oh
know
wow,
that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
actually cut her. That's
he
crazy.
said there was
Yeah.
a tube going behind his hand, and there was tape on the knife, and he kept trying to get it to match up, but the tube was clogged. So he turned around and he took the tape off the knife, and then he actually cut her.
I think
Nice.
Toby just told him, like, just cut her.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And it's funny because they were all saying by that time they've been filming for 27 hours. Is that right?
Yeah,
Like an
20,
insane
27
amount
or
of time. So
28
they were
hours.
all, yeah, and they all felt like they were in that moment. Anyway, we kind of went forward again,
That's all right, but
but
what you're talking about is when they're at the dinner table
yeah,
and the hitchhiker says, "Kill the bitch,"
and he's like, Gunner
and
got up and was like,
Gunner's like, "Yeah, let's."
let's
And
do it.
he had to like snap back, like, "Oh, this is a movie.
Yeah,
I'm losing my fucking mind."
yeah. All right, let me go back
Yeah, go
because
back.
I gotta keep you grounded. So the one of the best things about this movie also is the whole setting, right? Um, interestingly enough, like a lot of movies, things seem like they're next to each other and they're not, right? But then the idea that uh, the old Franklin place and the Sawyer house were really next to each other, and that's really cool to me. Like that it was all right there. Um, that whole setting, walking that of them just walking to the house, is a really great part of the movie that just makes you realize like where are these two going, you know? Um, and they talked a little bit about when they passed that tent that had a bunch of holes in it.
Hmm.
They said they were actually going to make that into more of a scene, but for continuity purposes, like to keep the movie going, they just kind of did kind of still shots of it and let them keep going with it.
They did use a piece of that for stock footage. They said they were going to put the watch with the nail through it.
Right.
That's in some stock footage later on.
I mean, it's in that part. You see it hanging from the tree.
Yeah. I wish they would have dove into that a little bit more. That
Yeah, I mean, I get why they didn't though, just to kind of keep the movie going, because by that point it had been kind of slow. Rough. I mean, you had the hitchhiker and stuff, but uh, I just love that it. Then that's when you heard, you just heard the generator. That's the only sound you heard.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I guess the sound started coming in, it was like I don't even know what they were using. It just sounds like pots and pans.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically what he used. That and like I don't know the instruments, but there was like some weird guitar type thing that he said came from some other country. Um,
Yeah,
that you would make noises on and just like rip the chords off of it, just to get it to sound a certain way. But it's hard to talk with Matt Shaven over here.
I know, right?
But
This
yeah,
isn't
it was
this
basically
isn't Sweeney Todd.
banging those phones and everything around, making that soundtrack. Sounds
Yeah.
like something Mike Patton would do.
It does. It sounds a lot like a Mike Patton project.
Yeah.
I didn't realize those bones were taken from and then it makes me sad. An old vet. I guess they just took the people's pets' bones and that weren't claimed and put them out back, and they used them for the film.
Yeah.
That and bones from like cows. I didn't know that in Texas. I guess when the cows would die, they would just like put them in like a far corner of the field to let it just rot away and stuff. And that's where they went to get get like where they got all the cow bones and stuff was just he was going through backyards of these fields and taking bones from the mounds of dead cows.
I don't want to jump to other films, but the Netflix Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There was a like a fixation on the sunflower field. I mean, did you recognize that? Like when
Oh yeah,
when they crash the truck or whatever, and then Leatherface comes up from the sunflowers.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was an homage to 1974, and I didn't realize it until I was watching it pretty closely. But they walk kind of past a sunflower field, and I don't know if that was intentional.
There's
I'm
a
sure,
lot of homages in that film
yeah,
from the original.
but
Yeah.
to make, I mean, they made that um like a hyper focused scene with all those sunflowers,
Yeah,
and it's such a small detail of 74. I'm sure that that's where they got the idea, but I never really noticed it before I watched it, you know. But I did notice when I watched the Netflix, like, why are they hyper fixated on these flowers? And after like dissecting 1974, I guess I understand it.
right on.
Yeah.
It
I think that's what makes a good callback, though, when it's
so
that
subtle,
subtle.
you don't really
It's not
understand.
so in your face. Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, all right. So we're finally to the house.
we're all over the place, but yeah, we're at the house.
Yeah, we're at the house. So I mean, I think in this time frame, you have probably two of the most iconic horror scenes ever. Um, you have her getting up from the bench and following her up to the house.
Yeah, and that scene I never really realized because your focus is elsewhere, but the camera goes from behind the swing, under the swing, and then follows her.
Yeah,
You know what I
and they
mean?
talked about how they did that, which was cool, like with the rail or like the track,
Mm-hmm. They use the
and how
track
it
a
just
lot.
yeah, and how it just made the house so big. Um, and then I mean before that, obviously before that part, when he slams the door shut, he slams that silver door.
That
That
is
is,
so tough. I love that scene.
yeah,
Yeah. And so in the commentary, they talked about how he was just supposed to drag him, right? Like he's supposed to hit him and then kind of drag him. But I guess he they couldn't grab him or something, and he threw him into the wall,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
and he didn't mean to do it.
Throw a face first into the wall. That's that scene. That's something that sticks with you when you're a kid and you're seeing this guy. You know, he's twitching. He's
Flopping like
Mhm.
obviously what's that?
flopping like a fish.
Yeah, he's got seizure like activity, and it's like,
Yeah,
damn, this guy really fucked him up.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I
But
guess, yeah,
again, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I mean that would happen if a certain brain injury happened. I don't know, it's just so brutal and raw, but there was no blood.
No blood. That's what I'm saying. Like it as far as scenes in horror movies, it's a super tame scene, but it's up there as far as just iconic, unsettling scenes, right? So it's just it's amazing.
Let me ask you something, and it pertains to that scene. That scene is highly effective because it's grainy and dark.
Mhm.
You don't you I mean, you can see the wall behind Leatherface and there's skulls and shit hung up. And when you're watching that on a VHS, it's grainy and dark and it's shitty quality.
Yeah,
It makes that scene scarier for me.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
when you watch it and it's like on a Blu-ray or it's remastered, does that affect you at all? Do you think does it take away from the scene or does it add to the scene?
Personally, I mean, I like both versions. Like I watch movies now that were originally dark, you know, and then you watch them on Blu-ray and it's so cleaned up. It's like you can almost see the flaws with everything, you
Mhm.
know. I don't see that in this film. It's almost like it's a different feeling, but it's still scarring.
Mhm.
I feel personally.
You feel like it almost makes it better because it gives it more realism, to be honest with you.
You think that
Uh,
when it's grainy and dark, it's more realistic.
no,
Oh, when it's clean, like clear.
when it's cleaned up a little bit, because of the way it's filmed, it's still not like, it's still not crystal clear. Um,
It's still
but you're
shot
able to,
very dark.
yeah. And they said that they use like certain film for that kind of look, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that whole moment, that's when she was in the living room with all the feathers everywhere, and I hate that scene.
And the chickens in
That's
the
that's
cage,
my Pet
that little
Cemetery
cage.
end table scene.
Oh, it had to be brought up, huh?
I had to fit in there somewhere.
Thanks.
But like, and then you see the couch, and then you see it's just, you feel it. You're like, man, if I was in this room right now, I know that I'm in some deep shit.
Yeah, I think that the cleanness, as opposed to the dark, like gritty, it was different. Like the dark and gritty made Leatherface scarier. He was
Hmm.
scary to look at because you don't have a real good view of him. But you watch it in the Blu-ray cleaned up version, it's you do, but you already know who Leatherface is. You know how he looks, so you're not scared, like so scared of that guy anymore. It's scarier for a different reason. It's scarier for the actual because you see him get hit and drop and fall and bounce, and you know you can actually
Yeah.
see that, and you see the bad guy doing it to
Hmm. And
Uh,
you can't take away the fact that it also enhances the sound too of everything. You know.
him.
yeah, I don't know. When you're a kid and all you have is the VHS tape, to me, it felt it made it feel real because that's I don't know, that's how you recorded stuff.
Yeah.
Now I guess you can record stuff and it's clear. It's kind of like those found footage films.
Yeah.
You know, when those first came out, it was like, oh, this is kind of creepy because it's more realistic looking. But now everybody's got a really good camera on their phone. So I guess
Yeah.
it's probably different for like in the newer generation. They probably don't want grainy, crappy quality stuff.
Yeah, they're remaking all the stuff when we were kids watching like Blair Witch and everything because it
Yeah.
doesn't look scary to them anymore. It looks cheesy, you know, because you're right. The cameras now are just crystal clear.
Give me the old VHS with the tracking lines. I'm happy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
There's definitely
room,
something to that for sure.
it's more of a nostalgia thing. I like to hear the humming of the VCR. You know,
Yeah.
it's like when you go to the theater and you watch like an old film reel and you can hear it spinning in the background, and
Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
like the cigarette burns on the screen to tell the guy when to switch the
When you
reel.
cut it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something endearing about that. But back to that room, we didn't even talk about Ed Gein at all and how
Right.
this film is loosely based on Ed Gein. Um,
It was inspired. Yeah.
Inspired, yeah.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I would always say like based, but I guess it would be just like, yeah,
Yeah.
Same with
it's,
like Psycho or Silence of the Lambs. It was
Mhm.
inspired by.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and then you see like the furniture that it's made out of like bones and stuff. I didn't realize. I always saw the lampshade is the face. That was the executive producer's face. I didn't know that
Oh, I didn't know that either.
until I
I didn't
watched the
know that.
commentary. I made a note.
Ah,
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
And then I guess
And
for
they
like
use real
Leatherface,
skulls.
yeah, they did, which is nuts. And teeth, real people's teeth.
Yep. Yeah.
Um, and then with Leatherface's masks, in order to make it look like skin, they had to use a certain kind of latex that made it translucent, because they said like regular latex doesn't look like human skin. So I thought that was a pretty interesting fact.
Just look at Texas Chainsaw 2's mask compared to Texas Chainsaw 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely tell the difference.
Yeah, it's almost like I won't say Alice Sweet Alice, because that's a really thin like plastic mask,
Yeah.
but the translucency of it gives it that kind of feel, you know?
Yeah.
Like this is
Definitely.
a dude wearing another dude's face
Yep.
or chick, whatever.
And takes on that character. It's like,
Mhm.
put on the mask, and it's whatever mask he's wearing, he's that way.
Yeah. Oh, we lost Mike.
What are you doing down there? What's
You
going
right?
on?
What? I lost my notes. Don't worry about me.
Oh.
But I thought that was cool too. Kind of like a, split personality type of thing.
Mhm.
The Killing Mask, Leatherface, he's the one that goes out and gets them. The Pretty Woman, the Grandma. Those are the three that they used.
Mhm.
Grandma's cooking the food in the kitchen, and then Pretty Woman's there, at the dinner table.
They're having guests.
I
Gotta
guess
look.
I guess there was a scene, and I'm pretty sure I've seen it, and you may have shown it to me, Stevie, where he's putting makeup on it.
Mhm.
It's like a deleted scene or something.
Yeah.
So if you look at the scenes we were talking about continuity, you could tell that there's more makeup on it in certain scenes. And that's like one of the creepiest things is when he gets up and he starts walking towards Sally and he's just like looking at her. And then the
Yeah.
camera pans to like her point of view and he's just getting closer and closer.
Yeah. It's eerie.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite scenes in that film.
But you were saying about the makeup. I guess, like, with this being such a small budget, did that scene, if I was the one that did show you, which I probably did because I did have it on tape at the time, but that happens right before he goes running outside after Sally. So that's when you see like the makeup change
Mhm.
with where it goes from kind of dull to that scene was supposed to take place in between those two, and then he put more blush on and lipstick, and then he's instantly out the door to chase after her, and that's when it's like standing out and just like, ooh, look at him lips.
He's going out on the town.
Yeah,
Yeah. Right.
yeah,
Uh
Yeah, but that scene, that close up of him, like not the close up going to her, but that close up of him with his teeth and stuff, it's great too.
so messed up. Gunner
Yeah.
was phenomenal at that scene. The he was a teddy bear, dude. Like I met that man so many times. I actually got to go to a couple parties that he was at. Toe Tag were really good friends with them, and when Toe Tag would have a party in Pittsburgh, and he's around doing a convention, he would come over to the party and hang out. And he was just the nicest, laid back guy ever. And then you watch this movie and hearing what he did, like I don't even know how to word this to where I don't get in trouble by you guys or from everyone else, but I guess him getting ready for the scene, he went to a special school
yeah.
to learn how to act,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and
So
that's how.
I'll say it here for you. So Gunner actually went to a school for developmentally delayed students, and he
Hmm.
and he watched them and how they moved and how they acted, and that's go ahead, Stevie. And
Yeah,
that's
that's where he got that all from. But he went to that school and just he didn't know where to come from playing this part as Leatherface. He kind of put that character together off the paper himself,
Mhm.
and that's where he came up with. And between that and like even I guess originally they were doing a scene where he talks. Leatherface was supposed to talk, but
Mhm.
he
Yeah.
disapproved that. He did not like that idea at all. So, you know, Gunner makes the noise. Well, Leatherface makes the noises, but the only time you hear Gunner actually making a noise, I believe it's when he drops the chainsaw on his leg. All the other noises are still just like it's not him. When you hear the grunting
Oh.
and stuff, it's
So
like
there's the one where he's trying to explain to the cook what's going on, and it's a really high pitched like squabble.
Yeah.
But
was that where he was definitely him or
well, I was watching the commentary and he said he didn't want to say words, like you said.
Right.
yeah, okay.
He said he kind of developed
Yeah.
his own language.
Yeah, just a bunch of sounds.
Yeah, and as they were going through that scene where I think he's trying to explain to the cook what happened with the girl, and he's pointing over here and he's pointing over there, and he's like real high pitch. And he said, "I can't get that high pitch anymore." But yeah, and then when the saw hits his leg, he also yells, but he never formulates words. It's just incomprehensible sounds.
Right.
I think made that character even more scary, actually.
Yeah.
It was but yeah, that whole the way he put that character together, I thought was brilliant. And if you would speak to the man now, I mean, he passed away, but he's not like that at all. It just shows you how impressive these actors are, and how they can put their mindset into their character and take it that far. I think he actually wrote children's books there towards the end of his life. That's what he was doing, was writing
It's
children's.
crazy.
Do you know what I really appreciate about his character? And this is a weird thing to say, but he gave that character depth. With the split personality type of thing, depending on what mask he wore.
Mhm.
Depending on what mask he wore, he changed the character he was playing. I don't know. It was just it's more than just a Jason or a Michael Myers.
Yeah, adult.
Mhm.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Um, I, I don't know. There's a lot to unpack with this film.
Yeah.
Rewatching it again, I may change my order.
Oh man.
Yeah, I love the character of Leatherface.
I
Yeah.
like everything's a character. I mean, even the house is a character. Like
Yeah.
you said earlier, Mike, how they made the house look big, like real
Mhm.
big stuff. I went to the house. They turned it into a restaurant. I went to the house, and it's not nearly as impressive as it is in that movie when you watch that movie.
Yeah,
Like,
that movie makes it look huge. It's
yes,
crazy.
and it's just
Yeah.
everything about this movie is a character.
Mhm.
Like even that guy that works at and I heard they were gonna do more with it, but they didn't. But the other guy that worked at the gas station,
Who's washing the windows?
yeah, I heard they were gonna like have him have a part in it, like he's part of the family, like one of the brothers, whatever. But he did, but they ended up squashing that. But
Yeah.
everything was a character in that movie, and I that's what I have so much respect for that, because it stands out so much when you watch the movie.
I want to go back to Gunner real quick. Gunner, well, he didn't reprise his role, but he reprised a role in the family was it 2013 Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Right?
What's that?
The 3D one, right?
Yeah, I think it's yeah. I like the beginning of that
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
where Bill Moseley played the cook.
The guy who played Grandpa in the original also plays a part in that.
Yeah, and
There
Gunnar Hansen looks just like my dad in that film, which I thought was pretty
Love
cool.
the beginning of that movie. Like I had high hopes for that film when I first started watching.
Yeah. From there, it just, but whatever. That's another film.
As Franklin would say,
Oh man.
be fun.
I tried to count the raspberries.
They're so
lost count.
good.
Ugh.
So good. Even Hitchhiker doing it by the band. It was so
Yeah.
good.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I was gonna say it's got to be about 18 or 20,
Oh,
maybe more.
so great. So great. But
So
But
what
yeah,
else you guys got?
go ahead.
I mean, we didn't even talk about when so I'm not good with the names of the characters, but the girl that got, put up on the hook.
Oh yeah, yeah, Pam, wasn't it?
The actress's name's Terry. It's Pam. Is the
Yeah.
Yeah,
Again, not an overly gory scene, but
so effective.
you feel it.
you cringe. Sit down.
Yeah, the boom. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, damn.
Yeah,
You just know, you're like, oh man.
and so many people are like, you saw the hook go into her back. You see it pierce her back. You don't. Not
Don't.
once.
No.
I love it how it mess with everyone's minds.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's what you don't see is what is the most effective.
That
And I guess the one dude, is his name Peter? Am I wrong on that?
Definitely wrong on
guy
that.
Yeah, I'm wrong on that. The guy
Hey,
with the glasses,
Jerry,
Jerry.
the guy driving,
Anyways, the
Peter.
guy that when he came in afterwards and picked up the icebox chest and saw her hop up, and he hadn't seen him. He hadn't seen Gunner like that, and so when he first saw him, like his scream was real.
Yeah, that was Jerry.
Jerry. Yeah, so his scream was real when he saw him.
So I watched the commentary and they were talking about that. And I rewound it and watched his face. It's hilarious because like he was terrified.
Yeah. Oh, he was terrified when he turned around and saw him.
Yeah. He had a little bit of a New York accent, that guy. And he was supposed to be from
So
Texas.
that brings me to the chainsaw, right? So I guess they used a real chainsaw, and he was saying he got inches from the dude's face and almost cut him.
Nice.
You were talking about Kirk. So Kirk was the guy that was on the table, and he told him, "Don't move, and I won't cut you."
Right.
But he was literally 3 inches from his face, and if he would
3 inches from his face.
yeah,
That would be
using a real life chainsaw.
That would
That's nuts.
that's that. There's so many good scenes in that film, and I know we ranked A Nightmare on Elm Street really high. But I got to rank this one really high too, but for different reasons. This was a much more like DIY type of film. Like we're down in the trenches filming this. You know what I mean? You don't get that idea from A Nightmare on Elm Street. Whereas
No.
they may have been, but they had what seemed like a lot more resources than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre crew. It was very like, I don't know. It was a very punk rock way to make a movie.
Well, as Steve says, it's more realistic.
Yes, more realistic.
It is.
Call.
It's more realistic.
I mean, it's funny that a scene like that dinner scene, it's a great scene, but there's so many other scenes that you can talk about that are just as in your face, and you talk about it and you think about it and you go, oof. But I mean, the dinner scene, obviously, all the cut scenes to her face, you know what I mean? Like the close-ups and that kind of thing.
Oh, the iconic eyeball shot and the tears coming
eyeball
out of her
shot.
eye.
Mm-hmm.
And like that, she just looked like she was out of her mind.
Yeah.
You know?
And go ahead, Steve.
Well, I was just gonna go like you were saying, out of the mind, back to that dinner scene. The way I mean, what they were going through, they were out of their minds.
Yeah.
Like
right.
How Gunner stunk. Gunner was disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
He left out the dead, rotten animal stuff on the table that's like cooking right underneath them.
And the smell of the head cheese.
Yeah. Because it was like 100.
By the way, we never talked about
that
they were going to call the movie Head Cheese.
Yeah.
That's
crazy. Or Leatherface, right?
Both.
Was it Leatherface another one?
Well, either one, yeah.
They considered both and one of them was the working title. I don't know, but they
Jeez.
oh no, initially it was Leatherface, and they changed it because it was too close to Leatherneck, like for the Marines, and they didn't want people to think that that was a movie about the Marines or whatever. So and because there was no Leatherface at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, they used head cheese for a while, and then they used actual head cheese on the dinner table that they had to switch out when it started stinking too bad.
Brother
Right.
makes it real good. But yeah,
Um,
they said that they were shooting that. It's supposed to be nighttime, but it was actually middle of day. They put aluminum foil over the windows
Mm-hmm.
shooting that. So, like I said, it went from 105 degrees to 120 degrees in this room with all this decomposing animal pieces on the table.
oh,
Gunner stinking. You know, you're going to go mad. You're going to
yeah,
lose. And it shows in
absolutely.
all their faces because they have their parts to play. You
No,
can
it
see
does for sure.
Hitchhiker looks psycho in that part. Like you said, Gunner looks
Yeah.
terrifying. The cook, you see him slowly going mad. I guarantee
Mhm.
that was like real.
His smile, man. His smile
Yeah.
This is teeth.
is the best. Yeah. Um, it's pretty fascinating that so the whole grandpa scene, and I think we take it for granted how great it is and how it somehow fits, but that could have gone so sideways and completely ruined the movie. It could have come off so cheesy. I mean, it could have, and it didn't.
Yeah.
It was funny, but it was still like
I liked when he was like,
terrifying.
suckling on, on the blood like a baby.
Right.
It
But
was a
that's,
dark. Yeah.
I mean, when
Yeah.
people get to be that age, they regress to a childlike,
Uh-huh.
you know. So I thought it was
Yeah,
kind
for
of funny
sure.
when he does the
Um,
thing with his hands, and he
The
just
feet.
seems so happy. Yeah, he gets the
yeah,
happy feet.
yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Those scenes could have come across just like, oh man,
Yeah.
we could be sitting here talking like, oh, that movie was so great, except for that one scene. But we're not. We're saying that actually fit right in to this madness
Mm-hmm.
that we watched.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's amazing that it worked. That they all sat around. They're like, we're gonna have him do this,
Yeah.
and
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, it's gonna fall out of his hand. And all you're sitting there thinking is like, man, the torture that this girl's going through.
That added to the torture. Like in my mind, like
Right?
this hammer is gonna fall on your head, and it's
Yeah.
gonna hurt little,
Right.
a little bit at a time until they finally just kill you. Are there any
Yeah.
scenes that you hated or thought were cringy?
Um. Yes.
Which ones?
The, a lot of the Franklin Raspberry scenes. A lot of the Franklin scenes were just, and I don't know. uh,
He
They
played
were
it
just. I don't
really.
know if they were there to even it kind of like mess with your senses, right?
Mhm.
It's a very sensory movie, obviously.
Yeah,
So that hits another sense of just annoyance and anger, right? So it also so it gets you, it gets your adrenaline going in that way.
I want this
Um,
motherfucker to die.
well, yeah, of course you did, of course. But it came off annoying, but it didn't come off. It doesn't come off cheesy. And I think a lot of times these movies that we watch, things come off really cheesy. And as much as I hate the raspberries, like there was a lot of raspberries, but maybe a little too many. But I don't know.
Franklin
That's for me.
grinding.
It was when he was in it was Franklin in that little downstairs.
Oh yeah, and he's yelling up, and he's like
Yeah,
crying because they're having fun, and he's not.
yeah,
What's
Um,
worse, that or him, or that whole like 10, 15 minutes of them constantly yelling Jerry? Jerry,
Did that bother you?
that got under my skin after a bit.
Uh,
Yes.
the screaming in general, when there was a point in maybe my 20s, it doesn't bother me now. That it really annoyed me, like all the screaming from Sally, the chainsaw. It's just like it's so much. It's a lot of like sensory overload, like you know, audio overload. But what I didn't realize, like you knew that Leatherface was wearing cowboy boots during those chase scenes, and he was
Yeah.
having a hard time staying upright, but he was still running faster than Sally. So in those scenes, he would catch up to her, and they're like running through the thicket, and he would have to like stop and trim the bushes to let her go
Yeah,
farther.
because he
And
was so much faster than her.
yeah, and then like she just keeps screaming and screaming, and it's like, come on, can you just catch her already?
Right?
We'll trim the bushes later, buddy. Like let's go.
That was really funny because he kept talking about how he would, because the boots had heels on them,
Hmm.
and he would slip. And so if you watch in the movie, he literally makes 90-degree turns when he turns so
Yeah.
he won't slip.
The one scene it's so obvious, like when he runs up and he like kind of stutter steps and then goes on.
It's like the
Yeah.
cartoons.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, that's great.
So what else? Is there anything else we got to hit about this movie?
I mean, I kind of loved how Frank, the great thing about this movie is that you never saw a death scene coming. Even Franklin's death, they're just going through, and then all of a sudden he just shows up.
Yeah.
There was never a thing where it was like, because the old trope now, right? Where it's it's really quiet. Something's gonna happen, and if you really think about it, that really didn't happen in this movie. Every time something happened,
Happening.
it wasn't a I don't know. I don't want to say a plan thing, but you weren't expecting it. The music didn't get you to that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like that. I love Franklin's death. Um,
Hmm.
Multiple reasons. Like we don't have to listen to this anymore. But then, it's dark. It's dark. All you have is that little flashlight.
Yeah.
You're feeling the pain because Sally's pushing this wheelchair and this big dude. And then all of a sudden you look up and Leatherface is looking out and you can see Leatherface's eyes all big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you, bitch.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then like she's running away, and then he's just back there, and you can just see him just kind of going in. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
again, they said that, what did they say? That they used like 2 ounces of blood in this movie.
And
That's
they
nuts.
were spitting blood on him. So they
With
had
cups,
guys
they were
on,
throwing cups on him.
yeah. And it's not that much blood.
No,
And it did its job.
Yeah.
Definitely did its job.
it's just yeah, it's amazing. It really is. That's my biggest takeaway. That it's it's definitely one of the best horror movies of all time, and it probably is one of the least gory horror
Yep.
movies of all time. To
Yep.
be honest,
Yeah.
Yep.
Despite it saying Massacre in the title,
right?
it's more of like the
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Suspense.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to bring up at the beginning of this. I talked about the people really getting hurt on set.
Hmm.
I forgot to bring up the other scene with the hitchhiker when he gets hurt, like beaten with the broom handle. When the cook is beating him in that dark, shadowy scene and the dust is coming up and everything.
Hmm.
I guess for that scene, Toby kept saying it, they couldn't use anything fake because it wouldn't look real. So they had to use like a real piece of wood and pound the hitchhiker with this handle, real handle. And it was really hurt him. He said he had a bunch of bruises and stuff. But Toby kept saying, it won't look real if we use fake, And then the hitchhiker, Edwin Neal made comments about how, but then you watch the movie and they did not zoom up on that at all. So far back that they could have used a fake piece of wood to pound him, but Toby wanted to use one. He, really got beaten with this handle.
One of my favorite lines in the movie happens right there. Look what your brother did to the door.
Yeah, that's a great scene. Did you get him? Good? Did you get them all? Look what you did to the door. So good. Not to backtrack, but I did bring that up at the beginning, and I forgot to bring that up.
No, that's fine. We jump around.
We do. We
We're like
do.
House
We
of
don't keep one thing.
We do.
So
the final.
the other iconic. What's up? Go ahead.
Go ahead. Other iconic. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, so all right. So the end of the movie. Well, number one, when he cut his leg, right? The gunner was saying that he actually thought he cut himself because it was so hot, and I guess it went into some metal or something, but it was so thin, it was so next to his leg,
So they
right?
used meat, and then they used
Yeah.
a metal plate.
Yeah, but he still thought he cut his leg.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because of the
It's
heat.
crazy. Yeah.
It's scary.
They would never
Dude.
do this in a film. Now they would use a total prosthetic leg, zoom in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it would look fake.
Yeah.
But the iconic, I guess, chainsaw dance scene, right?
I love
So that was supposed to happen earlier in the movie.
Yeah, I
And
saw that.
yeah, so and then they decided that they were like, you know what, let's hold off on that and do it at the end of the movie. And it definitely worked.
Yeah, it worked well for the end of that.
Yes.
And he couldn't see very well out of the mask, and he's swinging that thing around.
Right, yeah.
He like took off while he was swinging that thing around because they thought they were going to get hit.
Yeah, because he couldn't see.
Did you guys did they happen to talk anything, or do you have anything in your notes about the hitchhiker's death scene?
About how it was shot in reverse.
No, not
Yeah,
that.
so that they said it was they said it was shot in reverse.
That's another good point. Yeah, no, but when they shot it, like, I guess he had to lay on the pavement with, like, they didn't have any, like, things to move his face around because they didn't have the money or whatnot. So they found a flat rock and shoved it under his jaw to make it look like he had a broken jaw. For that, when he was laying there, that whole time he's laying there with a flat rock under his face. And they said that the clouds were going over the sun, so they couldn't shoot because of the continuity. They had to have the sun blaring on him.
Yeah.
So he laid there for the longest time with this rock under his jaw, them putting fake blood in his mouth and it dripping out, waiting for this cloud to move. And he said it was so hot out, laying on that pavement, that he could actually smell his flesh like cooking on the pavement. Right?
What was the birthmark on the side of his face?
They never go in depth with that or say anything. It's just a birthmark. From what I know,
It's weird.
it's just a birthmark. Like, if you watch that family portrait, he even says, he was like, what's up with this big thing on my face? I guess it's a birthmark, but we're just gonna put this thing on your face and go with it. He didn't even really clarify. That's all he had to say about it. That.
Yeah, I never realized that was a birthmark. I actually thought that because he was the one that went to the grave, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I just thought that it was blood. I just thought it was blood from
from Grave Robin.
From the juicy we didn't even talk about that, man. The juicy corpses at the beginning.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Now, I will tell you that watching it in 4K, that is super effective.
Oh yeah.
It's way different.
You can hardly make out what it is with the dark graininess when you first watch on VHS. You watch it in Blu-ray and such, yeah, you definitely tell. And they did a good job on that corpse.
They really did.
And they used that same thing in that Texas Chainsaw you brought up earlier, Matt, the Netflix one or whatever.
Mhm.
He kills a victim out there with those sunflower seed or sunflower plants or whatever, and props it up just like that one.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But
So, what else you got in your notes, Mikey?
Well, I'm gonna go back to the dance. So the dance thing was supposed to happen when he was chasing her at the barbecue, and when she went into the place, they were supposed to like show him dance and go off, but instead they just had him kind of disappear, which I think was way more effective.
Much better, yeah, because you're like waiting for him to pop in.
Yeah, and when you hear the truck start, you're like, like
Yeah.
you don't know.
Yep.
But then you realize real quick that this is not. I mean, you probably realize that it's not a good place for her to be anyway. Um,
what about that last shot of her in the back of the truck as they're driving away?
yeah,
That was just phenomenal. The way she looked, crazy
Yeah.
in her
He
mind.
looked crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
And
guess they
again-
brought her back to redo, like to shoot that scene. She had to put all those. She was done. Her hair was like stained red from the fake blood stuff. She was all happy to be out of that, turn back into a normal living person. And I guess they're like, oh, we didn't get it. Come back, and then reshot it. So she's putting on that grossness. She said, like, I think in an interview, she said something like the clothes were standing up in the corner. She just put it on, and it really made her go insane. Like, that was real insanity in that scene.
But then again, Gunner was running faster than her.
Right.
He had to like slow down while she was getting in the truck.
Right. Yeah, he's like I'm in the truck, and he's like I have to act like I can't get in.
Yeah.
I just don't like that they stole that scene from Strangers. Pray at Night.
Yeah, I can't believe that was a direct rip off of that.
Copyright. Come on now.
I don't know, man. It just again, I couldn't believe the music and the cinematography, just everything, because not only was there really no music, any other sounds were like radio
Yeah.
like sounds from like what police scanners or just
I don't know if it's supposed to be that or like a radio station, like talk radio.
There's
You
that
know,
one
yeah.
like folk,
There is one song played in that movie.
yeah, the folky song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that guy was at Cinema Wasteland.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But for everything that music does for everything, but for movies especially, people talk about Halloween and they said that they showed it to audiences and they hated it. Then once they added in the music, they loved it, right?
Yeah.
And that happens constantly, where you think about a movie and you think about the soundtrack, and the fact that this doesn't have any discernible soundtrack is just crazy to me. And
Yep.
it just makes it that much better for me.
Oh, I agree 100%. It's
Yeah,
Makes it
it's
feel more real.
it
does.
makes
It makes it more real.
it's definitely scarring some of the noises during the scenes,
It's a
but
movie that definitely sits with you, man. It's a movie that sits with you. You know.
For sure. So what would you rate this? How many go ahead.
before we rate it, should we talk about what happened after the movie? Like what they went through with that or no? Is that another
Well, go ahead.
You know what I'm talking about? Like
I don't
what they
know what
went
you're talking about.
So when they did this movie, well, we talked about it and all the crap they went through for it, but when they did this movie, there was one production company. And someone else came in because they needed more money to do this movie. So another production company came in and they split it in half. Whatever money they take in from the theaters, they split it in half. So the actors got paid, I think it was $400 or $500 to start to be in the movie. And then they get shares of ticket sales or whatever afterwards. So, but they weren't told that it's a share off of whatever movie company they're working for. So this movie had 3 different people with their hands in it, like big companies, and then for each actor it gets a share for it, but it comes down from one company. So like say they made 200,000, it got split to, 100,000 between the two, and then split down even more than that with the actors. So they got nothing, even though they thought they were making all this money because it was like #1 in the box office, making tons of money in the box office, everything. They were making nothing for this movie. I think Gunnar made a comment that got his royalty check and he was expecting like, at least 2 or 3 grand for it. He said that was a small amount. He made $40.
Oh, jeez.
What?
40
Wow.
bucks. So overall, Gunnar Hansen, now down the road, I'm sure he made more, but overall, for being in this movie, going through all that, and it coming out in the theaters and doing so well in the box office, Gunnar made $540
Yeah.
Jeez.
to play Leatherface. And then on top of all that, I think they were called Bryanston was the company because they couldn't get anyone to put it out in the theaters. This was just going to be an independent movie, but they wanted it in theaters. So this company came in, they signed this company. Toby called up the people, I guess, and was like, "Yeah, we got a company. It's going to put it out in the theaters. It's going to get a worldwide view, blah, blah, blah." And the producer guy was like, "Well, what company did you sell to?" He said, "Bryanston." He goes, "That's the mafia." The guy who ran this company was like part of some mafia family. I forget which one, but he did.
Am I gonna have to cut this out?
Oh, no, he's dead.
Okay.
But
Go ahead.
they were.
But his family's not.
It was. It was the mafia, and I guess they put out like porno movies. Like Deep Throat was one of the movies that they put out back then. This company, but they lost their books when the movie came out, so they didn't pay a penny to anyone in this movie.
Wow.
Nothing. So he took them to court. Still didn't get anything because by the time they went to court, they were broke. The company went under and it was gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That not messed up. Can you imagine?
You just called out the mafia on Monster Kid Media.
Totally did.
Mafia. I said
That's Stevie. I said nothing. I didn't say a word.
Yeah, Spiacente. I'm not involved. Spiacente.
The Irish kid called out the mafia. But no, it was, yeah, that's like a big story with this movie, because of that.
God damn it, Stevie. All
Really?
right.
Really?
Take your word for it.
It's in the documentary. I can't say it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just, and I'm sure they got like thousands of dollars for that. But, they shot this movie, stunk, killed themselves, went crazy over it, made $540.
It's not a lot.
That's messed up.
But they're icons. They're iconic characters.
Yep.
Yes,
In an iconic film. So what would you rate this iconic film? Out of 10.
10 VHS tapes.
It's on me right now.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't like it being on. I feel like an idiot right now because I get wrapped up in the moment. I get wrapped up in the moment about the movie we're talking about, and I'm like, woohoo,
Take some deep breaths.
And I messed up with A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Why?
Because I gave it a 10. I gave it a 10, and because I'm thinking of like as a little kid and stuff. I gave it a 10, and I'm getting called out on it.
There's nothing wrong. Look, there's
that's
nothing wrong with giving it a 10.
But
I see nothing wrong with that.
What the only thing about giving it a perfect score is that it can't be any better.
And that's the part that's killing me here because I already gave A Nightmare on Elm Street a 10, and I think this movie is better than A Nightmare on Elm Street. Even though the stuff that is in it, they made it fit the movie to make that movie the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, you fucked yourself now. So you can redact your Nightmare on Elm Street 10 if you want.
Yeah.
So you're gonna give this.
Okay.
You're gonna
This,
give this one a 10.
this one's definitely higher on the list than Nightmare on Elm Street to me, for sure.
So you're gonna crank it up to 11?
You can't do that, but I would say 11. We do some Spinal Tap here. It goes to 11.
So, all right. So, I mean, we're giving you the ability to go back in time and take down your Nightmare on Elm Street score.
I would drop Nightmare on Elm Street down to a 9.
9 flat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then this one would be my 10, just because of the means that they have with financially. Don't laugh. This movie is my Raising Cain of movies.
You're saying that this movie is perfect.
Yes, to me.
Perfect.
We're doing it by individual. And this movie, to me, I hold so dear to my heart. You know, like the backstory.
There isn't anything that you would change about it?
With this, no.
Not one thing.
Jerry.
Like you wouldn't kill Franklin as soon as it starts.
Uh-huh.
That was annoying, but it made the movie.
All right.
It made me grumpy and mad about that, you know. This is such a hard question. It's a really hard question. You know, because
Could have stopped it. They could have stopped at 9 raspberries.
well,
they must have had some kind of they must have had some bet like that it hasn't come out. They're like, how many raspberries do you think we can fit into this movie?
Well, they wanted to cost, but they wanted it to be a PG movie. So they're like, if you want to cost, throw a raspberry out there.
I'm telling you what, that is wild to me that they wanted this to be a PG. It's wild.
I think it would have been awesome if they put it out as.
What would this been like as a PG movie?
Probably not much different.
They might have had to change the title, because I did hear that was a big reason why it couldn't get that PG rating.
Yeah.
Dude, I hate to do it. I have to go. You said we don't go halves, right?
I'll put decimals in there. I would give it probably a 9.6.
If we could put decimals in there, I'm going to go with a 9.8. 9.8 for me.
Mike?
I'll go with a 9.
9 flat.
Yeah, too many raspberries. Get rid of those. We're golden.
Right on.
All right.
So what about the out of 5? The villain. We've already talked about that, so we really don't have to get into that, I guess. But does this change your Rushmore?
Yeah.
I think I think you and I both had Leatherface 4.
Yeah, it changes for me. It changes daily.
Yeah.
Because right now Freddy's probably at 4 again.
Freddy's 4 again?
Yeah. No, Freddy's 3.
Leatherface is still 4 for me.
Leatherface is 3. Or Leatherface is, I don't know. It's too late.
You putting Jason 4?
Yeah, probably. Till we do Friday the 13th and I rewatch those and I start tearing apart the icon that is Jason Voorhees and all the different actors have played him.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, I don't think Friday the 4th or Friday the 13th is going to beat Texas Chainsaw as far as movie score. I don't even think it's going to be close, to be honest with you.
The original Friday the 13th. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I feel like this is so much more than a horror movie.
Oh yeah.
It's like its own thing. It's crazy.
Yeah. It definitely is. I mean, every aspect of it, just like you guys said, your senses, it just touches so many nerves.
Yeah. I forget what I gave Nightmare on Elm Street. But if I gave Nightmare on Elm Street a better score, it's probably wrong.
Well, we'll have to go back and watch and learn
Yeah,
from.
we'll have to go back. I mean, for me, I think a 9 is great. It's
Well, I think that wraps it up.
I think it does.
That was a great film to do.
Oh, I could talk forever about this movie.
Well, we'll do more shows. We could
I
do a
love
part
it.
2.
I love this movie.
When
So
I showed it to Jen, and it was definitely one that was the hardest one for her to get through. All the other ones, she was just like, eh.
Why?
This one was hard for her to get through.
Because
So that's what made me know it was good. She wants to watch all the Phantasms, so we'll have
Do
to
it
slog
tomorrow.
through those.
Phantasm Friday.
Phantasm Friday.
Do it tomorrow.
She wants to see them all. So how many are there?
5.
5? Okay.
So we'll
He fell asleep at Star Wars.
what the heck?
all right. I'm gonna cut the
Okay.
tape. Thank you everybody for watching. Let us know what you think of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And we'll come up with another movie to do for the next one. This I think we're at like an hour and a half on this right now. So
It's all right. There was a lot to talk about.
yeah, it's a great film.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody for watching. Click like and subscribe, and we'll have a lot of other dumb shit for you to watch.
1,000 likes, and we make Stevie talk about the remake.
Ooh,
Wow.
that's
Wow.
incentive.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, if we get 100 followers, we're having a taco party
Oh, all
or a
right.
pizza party. Stevie ain't fucking with tacos.
No. How about a head cheese party?
No.
My brother
Party.
makes it pretty good. He makes it real good.
All right, I'm cutting this.
Okay.
See ya.